Good morning to the participants from the United States, and good evening to all of you here in Japan, and greetings to all of you from around the world. I'm Masashiko Gemma, President of US-Japan Research Institute. I'm also a Professor and Vice President for International Affairs at Waseda University. I'll play a role of moderator for today's USJI policy seminar. We are delighted to welcome you to all our event hosted by the US-Japan Research Institute entitled USJI Seminar on Higher Education in the Post-COVID-19 Pandemic Era. We have two speakers, Professor Aiji Tanaka from Waseda University in Tokyo and Professor Francis Rosenbluth from Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut. Both professors are leading political science professors in Japan and the United States. Professor Tanaka is an expert in voting behavior. Professor Rosenbluth is an expert on Japanese politics. Professor Tanaka served as president of the International Political Science Association between 2014 to 2016. As principal manager, Dr. Tanaka managed multi-dollar academic projects of Center for Excellence and GCOE projects to enhance the horizon for empirical economics and political science. Dr. Aiji Tanaka is currently serving as the 17th president of Waseda University. He graduated from Waseda University in 1975 with a PA in political science, and then went on to pursue graduate studies in the United States, obtaining a PhD in political science from Ohio State University in 1985. He practiced karate in the athletic department when he was an undergraduate student. I'd like to also introduce Professor Rosenbluth. Dr. Rosenbluth is Damon Wells Professor of Political Science at Yale University. She graduated from the University of Virginia with a BA with highest distinction in 1980. She majored in government and foreign affairs. Then she graduated from Columbia University with MA in International and Public Affairs in 1983. She also studied in Japan as a visiting student at the University of Tokyo between 1985 and 1986. She obtained a PhD in political science from Columbia University in 1988. Today, we will discuss how higher education institutions in Japan and the United States have been coping with the COVID-19 pandemic in continuously providing educational services to their students, while in physically and financially securing the university communities. The answers to the following questions will be discussed. One, what has been the principles guided Waseda and Yale in making adjustments in educational services and campus activities? Will the principles be the same under the new normal situation? The second question, what are the directions of higher education in Japan and the United States in the age of post-COVID-19 pandemic? Let me just explain how we proceed today. First, we'll ask President Tanaka to speak. A talk by Professor Rosenbluth will follow. Then we'll move to general discussions. Viewers can send questions in text on YouTube. Please state your question with your name and affiliation. We might not be able to answer to all the questions we receive. However, we try our best to reflect your comments and questions in our discussions. So, President Tanaka, please begin your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your introduction, Professor Gemma. And I would like to. Excuse me. I hit something wrong, I guess. Let me try once more.
That was working. It looked good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we could see your screen.
Comment. Now, this is. Can you see the screen? Okay. I'm sorry, I can't.
Yes, we can see the screen. It's full.
Full of
screen share.
Okay. So somewhat, I can't see that very well. Why? Let me see. Something wrong, I'm sorry. I thought it was okay, but
I think we can see your screen. So if you just follow your notes and advance,
okay.
we'll be able to follow.
Yeah, that would be better. Okay, I'm sorry. First, okay, I'd like to talk to the response of the Waseda University to the COVID-19 pandemic. And okay, we placed the highest priority on the following three goals. And first, we decided to protect the lives and health of our students, faculty, and staff. And secondly, we decided to provide education with high quality. And third, we decided we should continue research under any circumstances, in any difficult circumstances. That is our mission, we thought. And also, I declare that we should apply the minimax regret principle to the crisis management, which means like we should try to minimize maximum damage or maximum regret. So we should not take risk for anything. For example, if we conduct a graduation ceremony or entrance ceremony, and then if some of our graduating students are infected by the COVID-19, then they cannot get a job right away in April. And if we open if we conduct the entrance ceremony in April, on April 1st, and if some of our students are infected, then they will not be able to attend the classes in April. So early on, we decided, those classes. And those are our thinking. And also we have about 8,000 international students, and 5,000 of them were on abroad. They went back home during the spring break. They cannot return to Japan. And then we have another 17,000 Japanese students who are living in Japan, but outside of Tokyo, greater Tokyo area. So they cannot come back to the Tokyo area in April. And so we counted about 22,000, total of 22,000 students will not be able to come to campus on, So we decided, actually, we made a decision very early on, February 27th, we decided to cancel graduation and entrance ceremony. And March 9th, we announced to postpone the class start on April 20th or later. And we could not think we can start any earlier than that. And then March 24th, and still the Japanese government has not issued the state of emergency, but we announced to start classes from May 11th on. And the reason why we decided this is we knew that we will have to teach faculty members how to conduct their online classes using the real-time online classes or on demand. Pre-videotaping their lectures should be, sending online, like on demand. But they would have to learn those things, and all the staff should support the faculty members. And then we estimated it will take more than a month. So we decided to start our classes May 11th online. And then April 1st, we announced that we move all classes online. And then we know that until after the end of this spring semester or spring summer quarters, and many of the 22,000 students will be out of Tokyo area. And so we will have to keep all the classes online until after the spring semester. And April 8th, the Japanese government issued the state of emergency. We knew that, so we prepared about 3 days before that. And then we closed our campus on April 8th. And then we decided to open the campuses partially on June 22nd. And actually, we closed the campus more quickly, but we opened the campus very cautiously and gradually. And we don't want to risk there in our students' lives and health. And okay, and also on April 24th, we announced that the emergency financial support to the students who are in the financial difficulty. And many of the students, their parents pay the tuition and sometimes apartment fees, fares, and rent, but many of them were earning their own living. And some of the students were trying to earn their apartment rent and daily living. And some of the students even tried to earn their tuition as well. And they lost many of them lost their jobs, part-time jobs. So we had to provide their support. And those are the things. And this is the situation. And this is what we have done. And why we have done is just as I said. And actually, our founder, Shigenobu Okuma, left some words like, don't think yourself, and just don't think your family, just don't think your nation, but do think about the world and be ambitious to contribute to the world and human beings on the globe. And that's the word he left. So this is kind of similar idea as SDGs, United Nations SDGs, and no one will be left behind. And we should, making our policies, making our decisions according to this principle. And this is our story. And here, I'd like to listen to the Professor Rosenbluth's speech, and I will come back later. Thank you very much. Please, Francis, please. Okay, good.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm very pleased to be here, and I want to explain the background on my face. Can people see my face in the corner? I am at Yale, in this picture of my face, I'm at Yale University's Art Gallery special exhibit on Japanese tea houses. And I'm very honored to be, in addition to a professor at Yale University, a board member of Waseda. So I'm one of the many connections between Yale University and Waseda. So today I'd like to share with you some thoughts about online teaching, the challenges and the opportunities. And to give you a little background, Yale has decided to continue to have classes in the fall semester entirely online for undergraduates. And this is because in the United States, unlike in Japan, there are still spikes. There are still parts of the country where COVID is expanding, not shrinking, and the prospects for a vaccination are unclear at best. And a second difference perhaps between Yale and Waseda is that in the United States, as you know, it's very easy to sue an institution for irresponsibility. And so Yale is erring on the side of caution when it comes to exposing students or faculty or staff to the COVID-19 disease. And so what will happen in the fall? Yale students are invited to return to campus, but the projected number or percentage of Yale students is much smaller, because Yale students would, while valuing Zoom education, much prefer the in-class experience and the connections with each other in residential life. And so the de-densified, this is a maybe new word, but this is the word Yale is using. The de-densified residential life will mean that sports activities and other extracurricular activities will be scaled back. And many of these will just not be permitted to go forward in the fall. The living situation will allow suites, one student per dorm room, but much less contact among students. And so this discourages students from returning to Yale. Many are planning to defer, take a year off. Many freshmen are planning to wait and come to Yale after a year to see what happens. Now, compared to Waseda, Yale is in a disadvantaged situation. Waseda has the advantage of being in a better COVID environment in Japan, and also in the time zone. It is easier to have online classes that match the time zone of many foreign students, especially in Asia. Imagine an Asian student who is unable to return to Yale and has to take Zoom classes at 3 a.m. This is really not pleasant. And so I think many of those students will choose not to come to Yale or defer. So the expectation at Yale is a drop in enrollment, considerable drop. And so thinking about online seminars, this is tough because seminars are the one place in the education of undergraduates where students are encouraged to think out loud and to take risks, to engage with each other, to challenge the faculty member. And this is hard when the environment is a remote and not physically present place. It's harder to read body language. It's harder to, is the best place to jump into the conversation. People are less likely and willing to take risks. We've already seen this in the second half of the spring semester when we went online. It was much more difficult to have this kind of seminar learning experience. So one way Yale is dealing with that is to make sure the seminars are very small, and so everybody can see each other on the screen. And of course, this also is possible because fewer students will be coming back to campus. Seminars tend to be 2 hours long, and this is too long to be on Zoom. Zoom fatigue comes into full force after about 20 minutes, which I'm sure all of you are starting to feel. And so one strategy is to break up seminars into smaller periods of time and to work with small groups of students or to have them engage in group work during the class time or in other times and just have shorter class time. Lecture courses are a little bit different than seminars. They have their own set of challenges. Even in a lecture class, it's impossible for students to learn effectively if all they're doing is sitting there taking notes, a brain dump from the faculty member to the student. We know this does not work for optimal learning. There has to be some give and take. And in the classroom, the physical classroom, it's possible to have some Socratic question and answers, to break out the group into smaller groups for discussion and exploration. With Zoom, this is harder, but there is the Zoom function of breakout groups, and there's also the Zoom function of surveys. If some portion of the lecture can be pre-recorded, more of the class can be used for open-ended discussion to follow the train of thought and points of curiosity of students. That's what Yale is thinking about for fall 2020 teaching. Sorry. I want to turn our attention very briefly to some thoughts about how society might be changing with the adaptation to coronavirus. And there's one very optimistic thought that's circulating, which is that can there be more remote time, more flex time? Will these internet ways of working improve family work balance so that people really can be at home and be with the kids at certain crunch times in the day and do the career work at other times that are more convenient? We know that long hours in the office make it very hard for women who have children to be career ambitious. And we also know that up to this time, flex time has not really worked very well because firms use actuarial data, that is, we call this statistical discrimination. If, on average, women of childbearing age drop out or cut back, they are just not a good bet. And so people in the corporate world prefer not to hire women who are likely to be a poor investment in human capital. And they use long hours in the office as a kind of signal of the ability to go against that trend of dropping out when their children are young. And this is especially true in companies with lifetime employment because the investment in human capital is very, very big. Now I'm showing you on your screen a survey from 2017, so 3 years ago, before COVID, based on 5,000 alumni and student of business schools in over 100 countries. Japan is not very well represented in this survey because Japan doesn't have as many students in business schools, but the Shitotsubashi Business School is represented here. So these are graduate students and the alumni of these graduate schools of business. And so what do you see here? You see that working online is viewed negatively during business hours. That is to say, most people in the business world don't think that it's a substitute for being in the office. If you want to work from home in addition to being in the office, that's fine. That's what this says. So it has not been accepted as a substitute for being in the office until now. And the question is whether COVID changes this orientation or this fact. So it could be that more flexible time and flexible gender roles is an idea whose time has come. Is that true? We don't know. There's a paper circulating now by some economists in the National Bureau of Economic Research that postulates that perhaps this is now changing. So imagine a couple in which the female, the wife, is a medical doctor on the front lines of COVID-19. The husband is an office manager, and this management can be done at least partly by telecommuting. So would it be the case that in this particular couple, he, the business manager, becomes more involved in taking care of children than she does? There are some studies suggesting that there's movement in this direction, but how durable is that pattern? So if for those of you who are interested, this is the source of that study. It's called The Impact of COVID-19 on Gender Equality by Titan alum Matthias Depke, Jane Olmsted-Rumsey, and Michael Turtilt, just last couple months. And so this is my last slide. This is also a working paper about childcare during COVID-19 by Daniel Carlson, Richard Petz, Joanna Pepin, called U.S. Couples Division of Housework and Childcare. And if you look on the x-axis, you see before and after COVID for 3 categories: housework, care of children under 6, and care of children over 6. And so the question is percentage of couples who say they share more equally. And so the percentage of more equal sharing has gone up in the United States. We don't know if that will stick, but that is something that could be a societal change. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing everyone's comments.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we go back to Professor Tanaka for your continuous presentation.
Can you see? Okay, now we can see. So now I'd like to talk about the policies in this coming autumn 2020 or winter 2021 and until through the January, and probably COVID-19 will not will stay in Japan. So probably we will provide all lectures online from September 2020 through January 2021, and we will conduct seminars, discussion classes, and classes with discussion, and lab face-to-face on campus. And also, we will keep large classrooms available for seminars with discussions, seminars and discussions, and we'll move all those classes to large rooms because we need social distancing between the students. So we will have to move the smaller classes to the larger rooms and so forth. Okay, I'm sorry. And also, we will have to, we will have to recommend the faculty members to videotaping, like pre-record the lectures for online classes on demand so that the student can listen to or watch those lectures anytime they wish. And otherwise, they cannot watch video in their apartment and then commute to the Waseda campus. It would take more than 1 hour, and they can't go to the face-to-face class right away. So we will have to combine those things in some way. Those are the very nearsighted, very short-range plans. And the next one, we should think about. We started thinking about Waseda's policies in post-COVID-19 society. And maybe this is not only the Waseda, for the entire universities or colleges in Japan. We will be able to change teaching method drastically. Actually, Waseda, we have been using some of the online education from 2008 or so, for about 12 years ago or so. But many of the faculty members are very hesitant to use online teaching. And some of them, very few faculty members have tested flipped classes. And flipped classes like giving the lectures online beforehand, especially the pre-recorded on-demand lectures. And then students listen and watch those lectures and then come to the second meeting in the same week for the discussions. So they should prepare the discussion by watching the video, listen to the videos and so forth. And so the flipped classes have been tested, and some of the faculty members strongly recommended, but the remaining of the faculty members are very hesitant. But now all the faculty members are forced to use online lectures, online classes. So we probably will move all lectures online and conduct labs, seminars, and classes with discussions face-to-face on campus. Introduced flipped classes by utilizing online education, and then increase the number of introductory classes as a part of the fundamental education online. For example, we have been providing the freshman Japanese academic writing, introduction to mathematics, and introduction to data science online, and or on demand, pre-recorded on demand. And we can expand the size of class, number of courses. We can increase the number of courses online, especially for the basic things. And that will probably we can guarantee the same quality of education throughout campuses, throughout department, and for the freshmen and so forth. Those would be new chance. And so probably we have been so hesitant to use online, but after the COVID-19 is over, then we will have the new type of the teaching method. And also, then we will not need large size classrooms, as we will move all lectures online. And Waseda has many of the large classrooms which can hold 500 students, 400 students, 300 students, so forth. But we can use, online classes to the lectures for those 500 students simultaneously. Then we will not need those large classrooms. The campus planning and design of classrooms will be totally different from now. And then our land area is very limited in Tokyo. And then probably we can utilize our land area more effectively. And then student, faculty, and staff will not have to commute during rush hours on trains. And they can listen to the video in the morning and then come to the classrooms face-to-face in the afternoon, and they can avoid the rush hours. So new work style can be implemented in the offices. And right now, at Waseda, all the staff, administrative staff, can come to office between 7 o'clock and 11 o'clock. And also, they can divide their work like 3 hours at home online, and then 5 hours in his or in her office. They are allowed to combine working at home online and working in the office and so on. So we can reduce a face-to-face committee and also the faculty members. We can reduce face-to-face committee meetings, faculty meetings. And also we can reduce the number of international conferences or symposium, and so that we can use our time more effectively. I mean, so far we have the pressure to fly over to the Europe or the North America to attend the international conferences, and maybe sometimes we need to see each other, but for sometimes we can attend the conference online, and then we can utilize our time more effectively. So actually we are thinking that, wazawai Japanese old saying is called wazawai tenji de fuku to nasu. And we have the tragedy, but tragedy may in the long run become the, creating new invention or bring about some happiness. And we hope after COVID-19 pandemic is over, we should have different lifestyle, different type of teaching and so forth. I mean, I'm very optimistic about it, but right now we are having very much difficulty in teaching, and students are frustrated, I'm sure. And so how we can survive through, that is more important, but we are looking ahead for the future positively. Thank you very much.
All right, President Tanaka, Professor Rosenbluth, thank you very much for your excellent presentations, reviewing the what educational institutions have been doing, and then what we'll do. I have like 3 questions raised by participants. One of them was from Glenn S. Fukushima Sensei. He has to get out from the meeting at 11:15 Japanese time, so I might just place a question from him at first. So Fukushima Sensei was asking whether the greater use of Zoom and other technologies to cope with COVID-19 mean that the current situation will accelerate in a positive way the globalization of higher education. So this is a question. I guess from the discussions, I guess your presentations, yeah, we try taking advantage of this opportunity. It's unfortunate incidents, but we realize that how new technology can really improve the quality of education or save quantity in terms of efforts for certain ways. So we can more put our resources to particular areas, more just close contact with the students for detailed discussions. And then, so any comments regarding this from
Let's
either
start
of you?
with the president.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Professor Gammon. I was trying to look for his questions on email, but but I couldn't find it. Would you repeat?
Oh, okay.
Professor?
Sure. Shall I repeat?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. So his question is that does the greater use of Zoom and other technologies to cope with COVID-19 mean that the current situation will accelerate in a positive way the globalization of higher education?
Oh, yes.
So, well, we might not have to physically visit each other, but we can conduct a more close day-to-day contacts with the partners in abroad or students and faculty using this convenient tool without moving, without mobility.
I agree with you. And so actually, we have been hesitant to use like Zoom, Skype, or those kind of electronic devices to meet. And actually, we have a strong belief that we have to see each other face to face. That's the best way of communication. But we are forced to use like Zoom or other type of the electronic devices. And now we are finding, wow, it's fairly effective. And also that many of the professors saying like they are having seminar with 12 students through Zoom. It is very effective, they said. And also, I was thinking when I taught like 300 students in a huge classroom, and when I throw the questions, very few Japanese students raise hand. They're very hesitant. They raise hand in front of the rest of the 300 students.
Okay.
On Zoom, they were very, very, bluntly raise their hand, and they're not so much afraid of being watched by other students. So, in a sense, like a lecture to the large number of audience in the classrooms, and students are more active. So we can see, some of the positive aspect and the negative aspect.
Okay. Professor Rosenbluth?
I agree with what the president said, and shorter faculty meetings are always better. When people are on Zoom, they waste a lot less time repeating what somebody's just said right before them. And so for some things like faculty meetings, I think Zoom is superior to commuting to campus. For in class, as President Tanaka said, there are some challenges. It is hard in a seminar to engage quite as spontaneously, but a positive thing that has happened is that faculty think very hard about how to engage students. And because it's a challenge, I think there has been a lot of creative thinking, ways to get them to express themselves rather than just to sit and wait for them to speak. So these are positive things, and there may be more yet to come, but we've seen these, at least these aspects.
Yes, I agree. So like I have been emphasizing the positive side too much, but actually students are frustrated because after the class, in class, face to face, they can chat after class and before next class and so forth. And they are deprived of such opportunities. And so they are wishing to meet students, other students. And also they're wishing to see the professors, face to face. And many of the Japanese students come to the podium after the class is over. Like 5 or 7 students come to me and talk to, some of the questions, through some of the questions, so forth. And they can do that, through the Zoom classes. And so there are, definitely we have some negative aspect on that. Yeah. So
I have a comment from nickname Sandu Goya 3. He or she mentioned that some Waseda professor told him or her that now research meetings or research workshop held at Waseda, more participants have been observed. I have been seeing the same thing for the many administrative meetings and then research meetings. I have more participants through online participation because maybe opportunity cost is lower. They don't have to move around. Then they can be there and then they can concentrate on the discussions. So the same person also replied that also international conferences can be sort of organized online so that they don't have to really spend so much money or so much time for international, I guess, mobility, the movements, traveling. So as President Tanaka mentioned that, yeah, face-to-face communication has much benefit, but for certain things, we can save our energy and time and then allocate that saved time and money for better things. So reallocation of resources to be more effective in research and educational activities we can materialize. Okay, so these so far I have obtained from the audience. If audience has have any questions or comments, please just write in the chat function. You might have to, I guess, put your name. Otherwise, it doesn't allow. So, but it's easy to use this chat function. So, I would encourage you to raise. Otherwise, you have a comment? Yeah.
I see one from Toshi Yoshida who says, will physical studying abroad be discouraged or still have value? This sounds like a question for President Tanaka.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, please.
Okay. I have been discussing this with other presidents globally. Like I've been invited by the World Economic Forum, University Leaders Dialogue, and all it has been being held almost every Wednesday, and that's one. And also I have been invited by the APRU, Asian Pacific University presidential conferences 3 times or so, and the University 21 the presidential conference once, and every time everyone talks about like where students are deprived the opportunity to study abroad, and so we have to do the international study abroad online. Like why don't we let other school students listen to our lectures and each other, and then next question on this is study abroad online does not actually realize the real purpose of study abroad, because some of the Japanese students or some of the Asian students who go to the Europe or US or North America, or Canadian or American students who come to Asia and so forth, they would be living in a different culture and different social settings, and then they will be mingled with students with different language, different religion, different culture, and that's one of the very important aspects of the study abroad. And those can be actualized. Then just about 3 days ago, Chinese University of Hong Kong president proposing not only study abroad the subject matter, but also creating the virtual student community, a space for the student community virtually, and then let them talk. Like after the lecture, keep 1 hour or something, and then the professor leave, and the student talk each other something online, and that is is enough, not quite substituting the real study abroad, but still better than nothing. And so study abroad is really we are bothered by the COVID-19, and that deprived our student opportunity to study abroad. And but still we have to supplement, complement some of the situation by doing something. And we started talking about those, like Chinese University of Hong Kong proposed that, and then University of Hong Kong agreed that, and then University of British Columbia agreed that, and Waseda now agreed that, and we'd like to pursue those kind of opportunities. And yeah, those are things. With Professor Rosenbluth, do you have any comments on study abroad?
Well, I agree with you. I think there's really no substitute for being with people of other experiences, life experiences. But while we wait for the world to get a handle on global health, I really like the idea of virtual student community. And for people who can't afford to travel or in between times, or to keep up the friendships from foreign experience, this seems like maybe a new way to connect people globally. So I like that idea very much.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. So we have more questions. Okay, so I'm sorry. So Professor Jordan Sandogoya 3. All right. He meant that to ask how university might take better advantage of the low opportunity costs of Zoom. Yeah, lots of opportunities exist, so we're trying to utilize resources. I think this virtual study abroad program, we are finding benefits from organizing such virtual opportunities for our students, because some students, they cannot really, even under the new normal situation, they don't have time or they don't have financial resources to visit other countries. So for those students whose opportunity costs are high, we can offer virtual opportunities, and then maybe in the future they can consider going abroad, or they can, I guess, just develop their career related to international activities by having such virtual opportunities as start up for their adventures. Okay, and then okay.
Could we just say one more thing about?
Oh, sure, please. All right.
Sand suggests. I think it's really smart for every faculty member with research interests to think about how to globalize their research groups.
Okay.
I think global research collaboration now is much easier. So instead of just running surveys, in one country, this offers an opportunity to connect with faculty members in many different countries cheaply, easily, and broaden research questions and be more international. So I think we're just scratching the surface, and I wonder if there was anything that Jordan Sand had in mind in particular, but this does seem like still an untapped, underutilized opportunity.
I see.
Yeah. And I haven't, I have the question, actually, I haven't experienced having the very deep discussion online with someone who have not met before. Like I have had a very good discussion with, my colleagues or other researchers online, whom I have met before or I know very well. And maybe I have some, of course, I have some of the discussions online with very new people, but I'm not sure like how we can, be more friendly online. And if I haven't met that person before, and I mean, if someone knows, like it would be no problem. It's just a matter of time. Even through the online, we can get acquainted each other pretty well. That if if that is the case, that would be good news. But I haven't really experienced those yet. And if Professor Gemma or Professor Rosenberg, if you have any of the opportunity, experiences of those, please let me know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I had one experience recently. It was supposed to be an in-person conference, but it was online. And so people I'd never met before came together, and it was the opportunity to form new research collaborations. So it really can substitute for that networking that takes place in person.
Oh, good. That's good news. Yeah.
Mm,
So it would work. That's
I
great.
see. I have a question from Ms. Tomomi Miyajima. Do universities plan to utilize those resources those tools, I think online tools, to promote more interactive online classes, or plan to stick to lecture style? What would be the most suitable platform, and then modify modality of online classes? So how would we be using online tools in the new normal situation?
Right. Yeah. I think like under new normal situation,
Okay.
under new normal lifestyle, probably we will have a hybrid, like a combination of the online and face-to-face, classes. And of course, one class can be hybrid, like flipped classes, lectures online and the discussion face-to-face. That's one way. And or we can separate, just straight lecture can be online. And then all the discussion, labs and seminars on face-to-face. And we could be like having the online lecture types and then face-to-face labs and discussion seminars parallel, set those parallel. Or we can have the one course can be hybrid, combination between online and face-to-face lecture, face-to-face discussion. So those are the things in the new normal. Probably we can enjoy those kind of new situation, new teaching method in new normal. We hope.
See. At Yale, do you have? Are you planning to offer hybrid courses, or just basically just face-to-face, because that's what students want?
Students want face-to-face, but Yale is closed
Okay.
for undergraduate courses for meeting in person. So the challenge is very great to engage students. And so these ideas that Miyajima-san talks about, the faculty, with the help of the Teaching and Learning Center, are just learning how to be more engaging. Pear Deck, Blackboard, Jamboard, these are things like blogs and student breakout groups. I think we are going to be learning more about all of those. As a general matter, faculty members of universities have never really learned how to teach. And, compared to high school teachers who undergo a lot of training for teaching, for us, we learn our expertise, we are focused on research, and then teaching is something that we learn on the job. And I think Zoom provides an opportunity and pressure to really focus on pedagogy. What works? How do we engage our students? So it's a good opportunity to put more attention on student learning.
I see. So this same Miyajima-san mentioned that at her daughter's, 13-year-old daughter's teacher school, the teachers are using various tools and platforms that enable interactive activities with students. Peer Deck, Blackboard, Jamboard. So quite a few tools available, different online tools available. I guess university professors are not accustomed to utilize all different platforms. But I think there are, I guess we might have to look into these possibilities too.
Yeah, I agree. Like we, university faculty members, kind of layman in utilizing those, new pedagogy tools, and probably primary school or secondary school teachers are more talented, more used to utilizing those devices, I think. So, and so we will have to learn something new, probably.
Okay. Oh, I see. Huh. All right. Any other questions and then answers from the audience? We have a few minutes, like 3 more minutes. Well, I might be interested in wrapping up if participants allow me to do so. Currently, 67 participants are viewing this presentation. Okay, so we'll be, we have been recording this session so that we'll put this video on the USJI homepage so that participants or non-participants, they can get access and then just listen to what we have discussed. All right. All right, thank you. So thank you very much again, well, President Tanaka and Professor Rosenbluth. And then thank you very much for everyone to join us today. Have a nice day and then have a nice evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for listening to us.
Yeah, USJI will continue with this policy seminar series. So, we'll inform you of the future events. I hope you'll be able to join us again. Thank you so much again. Have a nice weekend.
Bye-bye.